Hey folks, you can listen to Idioms on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Google Podcasts. Search Idioms David Dyer on any one of those and subscribe. And welcome to Idioms episode 20. I'm your host, David Dyer, and Idioms is my mini-cast. 5 minutes at the most, about the same time it takes for the officer to write you a speeding ticket. And as the name implies, I talk about idioms. Those phrases we use in everyday conversation that seem completely out of place, yet you know exactly what they mean by the way they're being used. Good, so let's go. This is Idioms episode 20, and the idiom we're going to cover today is pulling out all the stops. You've heard it. I thought this thing was done and over with, but her lawyer is really pulling out all the stops and trying to get me to cough up the lake house in Leland. Literal meaning, to remove all the drain stops so that water can flow freely in the sinks. Maybe, kind of. Contextual meaning, to use all the resources one has at their disposal to accomplish something. So let's explore the origin. There's really only one origin theory on this, but the fun thing about this phrase is that you'd have a pretty difficult time guessing what it is unless your name is Eric, you live in the sewer system of Paris, and Andrew Lloyd Webber has made millions off of your story, even if it's fake. I asked a few people to give me their best guess on where they thought it came from, and here's what they came up with. Guesser 1. I think it comes from old-timey telegrams where the word stop was at the end of every sentence. Seems like if you pulled out all the stops, the message would flow a lot better. Well, no. The reason stop was used in telegrams was to emphasize the end of sentences. This was particularly important in military telegrams so that any ambiguous statements would not be misunderstood and the orders would be carried out correctly. Guesser 2. I think it's a metaphor for if you pulled out all the stop signs on a series of roads, it would allow the cars to get through much faster. An interesting theory that completely ignores the fact that some of these intersections may be four-way stops, and in this world of political correctness, if you're going to pull out the stops for one guy, you better be prepared to pull them out for everyone, which will lead to several multiple car pileups and the potential death and destruction that goes along with such an event. Congratulations, Guesser 2. You just put countless lives at risk. Guesser 3. This guesser had an interesting take because I didn't know this, but stop is a common term used by professional photographers. And Guesser 3 said that they think it has something to do with exposure. So if you pulled out all the stops, maybe that would increase the amount of exposure in a camera shot, and maybe that's where it came from? Looked it up. Nope. So let's get to the true meaning because I really like this one, and we'll use our friends at Grammarist.com as our resource. They say the phrase has been around since 1865 when it was used in a book called Essays and Criticism by Matthew Arnold when he wrote, knowing how unpopular a task one is undertaking when one tries to pull out a few more stops in that somewhat narrow-toned organ, the modern Englishman. The key word in that sentence is organ, and that's why I mentioned Eric earlier for all of you Phantom of the Opera nerds. You see, Eric was the Phantom's name, and he lived in the sewers in Paris and played the organ, and who cares? But the phrase does come from the world of organ players or organists. The fine organs, like the one used in many Catholic, Episcopalian, and Lutheran churches, contain keyboards, pedals, and pipes, but they also contain what are called stops. You may have seen them and didn't even realize what they were, because I know I didn't. Now, a stop is a device that controls the amount of air flowing through the organ pipes and thus controls the volume of each pipe. Modern organs have a button that controls the stop electronically, but the old organs had stops that had knobs that you either had to push in to silence a pipe or pull out to allow maximum airflow and thus maximum volume. So when you pull out all the stops on an organ, you're playing that thing as loud as it can go, baby. Just like John Lord did for Deep Purple. Look it up. You won't be sorry. So the next time you go to Mass on Christmas Eve as part of your 2 visits a year plan, take in the grandiose sound of the pipes as Handel's Messiah fills every inch of space inside the church, and then look at the stranger next to you and pretentiously say, boy, they really pulled out all the stops on this one. See you at Easter. So that's it. Episode 20 of Idioms is complete, and can somebody please turn that organ down? I'm your host, David Dyer. Thanks for listening. Check back for new episodes every Tuesday and Friday, but until then, I'll catch you on the flip side.